Hey guys, I'm Max Spec in the America server in cooking, and also have an alt that has half spec. I use this one for butchering, and I also had another one for farming. In this video I want to do a walkthrough to see how you can max spec cooking, and I will be using the fame boost that you have in a lot of events, like the weekend fame boost that was 25%, the Rites of Spring, or even the anniversary fame boost that will come in July. You always have these events. In this case I was getting 25% fame boost. First I want to show you the new learning system in Albion Online. We will not be using this, but this works for sous chef, so for potions and for food. This will make the fame you gain multiply by 5. So I made a test here with beef stew. Study also works with learning points. So I had 266 fame from studying the beef stew, which end up in almost 1 million fame. So I went from 62 to 78 specialization and spend more than 400 learning points. I don't think this is the best way you can spend the learning points, so we'll not go this route. So the first step is to buy some grilled fish. 100 will be enough, and you just study the item and you'll unlock the cooking till level 6. And in level 6 you can see you already can do a lot of food. Another important thing is where you are going to sell the food. If you see, all vendors have different types of food that they like, so when you give the favorite food to the vendors, it will be 2 times the nutrition value. You can sell them to vendors through the market and they will buy it, these specific items for a specific vendor. You can use the nutrition fee, so you can give food in the vendors, but normally that is not that good, so I will not advise to do that. And for each vendor you will have a different type of food. I will leave it here, the most used. Of course, if you are in a city that doesn't have a bonus for that vendor, they won't sell that much food. The other way you are going to sell is the most used food by players. And food by players, you have flat food and it sells a lot, and you also have Avallonian food that uses Avallonian energy, and you have food that uses rare fish. In endgame food you have enchanted food like 0.1, 0.2 and 0.3 that is made with fish sauce. There's not that much demand for that type of food, so if you do a lot of that food you won't be selling those. If you notice, some foods like pork omelette and cabbage soup are both used in vendors and by players. So those foods with more than one purpose are easier to sell. For this journey in cooking max spec, I will go for the player's food. You can check the vendors in each city by clicking in one of the icons in the map. I want to talk about the ingredients the food take. For example, bread will take 1 flour to do 1 bread, so the ratio will be 1:1. But in some cases you have 3 ingredients or 5 ingredients, and we will not be using a calculator. This will be way much easier. So let's take the example of the beef sandwich. You have 75 raw meat, 32 bread and 18 butter. If you make a ratio with this, 1/2 and 1/4. You should take always 2 stacks. And seeing this as a ratio, if you take 2 stacks of raw meat, that is the ingredient that you will need more, then we will need 1 stack of bread, half of the stack of the raw meat. And if you take 1 stack of bread, you will need half stack of butter. So it's 2, 1/2. This will also be the carry weight of the ox. So it's perfect, so you know what to buy right away. Your ox will not be overweight. It will probably be overweight coming back from the cooking to sell in the market. I'm using an ox, sometimes T7 excellent, sometimes T8, because I thought it was the mount everyone can afford. But you also can use grizzly bear, elite bear or elite boar. 8.3 boots with the weight passive or a 8.3 bag, so you can use whatever you can afford to make this process a little bit faster. So after unlocking the tier 6, I decided I want to study some items. If you see in the picture, studying items also are influenced by the fame boost, so I'm getting 25% more fame. And in this case, I'm using tier 2 salads, so I don't spend a lot of money. And my goal here is to get to level 50. This was a weekend fame boost, so I only had 2 days and I only played a little bit of those 2 days. I also didn't have time to do buy order, so I was buying all the ingredients right away from the market. So this first fame boost was to get everything more or less to level 50. I already had some spec, I already had 100 in butchering that I made because I had islands and I had animals. So what I got from those animals, I cut it till I got to level 100. Very important in food crafting, there's one city where you have a bonus for making food, and that city is Carleon. In Carleon, it's very difficult to get ingredients. It's easier to get ingredients in the royals because there are more cities connected by yellow zones, and Carleon is just one city connected by red zones. But you get the bonus 15% for crafting food. So it means the ingredients will be expensive and the food will be much cheaper than the royals. We'll be coming back here to get more items back so we can do more food to spec a little bit faster. I was checking if it was better to buy the soups or do the soups with carrots and then study them. I decided to just study a couple of them, and then I realized I might need to change my farms to carrots. So changed almost in every city to carrots, and I also decided to grow some wheat. Because in food, one ingredient can do other ingredients, and sometimes you use the processed ingredient and sometimes you use the plant. In this case with wheat, you can do flour and you also can do bread. To help me spec up faster, I decided to use focus potions. The focus potions are better in crafting items, like 8.3 items, but in this case I thought it was a good idea to use them because I would get more ingredients back to craft more, because I will be crafting a lot of food. Since I'm not using these focus restoration potions elsewhere, I might use them here. And you might think, oh, it would be great to use that when you are full spec. That's not my point. I just want to go to full spec and then have a constant income every month. So since I had some spec previous to this video, I decided to start with the beef stew, because beef stew was already very close to 100. But then I realized it was taking too long to craft the food and I only had 2 days, so I decided that I needed some salads. So I just made a couple of salads to help the process of doing food. I'm not using the focus potions in food that I don't have a lot of spec. I try to use them in the place I have more spec, and in this case is beef stew. So I'm already at level 95, 94, 95, and at this point I'm already missing some ingredients. I need to go to my island in Limers, so I can take ingredients I'll be missing, like corn and pumpkins. So I make the transport. Transport is very important when you are crafting food. I bring the pumpkin because I will need it now for the beef stew. But I also brought some corn that I might need later to do other types of food. So at this point I already spent a lot of restoration focus potions. As you can see in the estimated market value, I'm not losing money, I'm actually winning money. And this is important because when I will do other foods without focus and I have low spec, I will not get my money back sometimes, and sometimes will be even. So if I can get some profit here, it will help in the future. As you can see, I'm going to the market back and forth to buy ingredients because I don't have all the ingredients needed for this weekend fame boost. But in the Rites of Spring, I will do some buy orders, and this will be different because I will have more ingredients. The stew is done 100%. Let's go to the next one. The ingredients were very close to 100, so I decided to start with that one next. And I tried to find some meals in the city, but in the city, if you have meals, sometimes you don't have, the crafting capacity of the meal is very low. So they are always very low in food or in crafting capacity, and as you can see in the video, I cannot craft more in these meals. So I need to build meals in my own island. The meals are kind of cheap, and there's a trick in the journeyman's meal that it will always come with 7% food, always. You can take that to your advantage, and when you got no food, you destroy the meal and do another meal. And you only spend a couple of T3 blocks, because when you destroy the meal, you get the blocks back. Anyway, in this case, I'm rushing the fame, so I will still have food and I will have to destroy the meal because the crafting capacity will go down very, very fast. I also go to the other cities and do the same process till I try to get to 100. The milk was very expensive in Thetford, so I had to buy it in Marlock and transport it to Thetford. This happens because every city will have a food bonus and an animal bonus, and the ingredients will be much cheaper in that city. I know I will need butter for the sandwiches, so since this is an item that you only need one to craft another one, you only need milk to craft butter. The prices are very similar, and I'm not spending money using the mill. So you got to work with that. You got to see, okay, the milk is cheaper than the butter, so I will buy milk and turn that into butter. Or the butter is cheaper, so I don't need to buy milk, and I will buy straight the butter. I stopped at 96, I thought it was enough, and I was getting too much butter and too much bread, so I went to Carleon to start roast pork.
Tried my latest creation?
The roast pork was also almost finished at 95, so I wanted to take advantage of the Carleon bonus without using focus. And at this point I didn't need focus because I was getting more or less even with the food I was crafting, and I finished right away the roast pork because the 25% fame boost was pretty crazy. I took the time to do the carrots I planted in the previous day, so I could do a little bit more of soups. So I did some tier 1 soups, and I also studied them. In this case I started using focus in study. It's not advised, but in this case it's different because I'm studying and I'm taking the 25% and a little bit more with the focus I have. I had like 500 focus, so it was fine. I decided to go to Bridgewatch and start doing cabbage soups because they are easier to sell, but I also add the carrots from the previous day, so I also did that and buy some more because I thought I would need some more carrots. So I made the same I did with my carrots and also studied the soup because I really don't like soup. I never do soups. After soup I was rushing to beef sandwich to make the sandwich line, and right now beef sandwich is not very good for selling, so my strategy here was doing the player's food instead of doing the vendor's food. You can try the route of going for the vendor's food. Instead of beef sandwich, it's mutton sandwich, and you got to choose a town or a city with tons of mage towers where there is a lot of demand for mutton sandwich. Till level 50 it's kind of fast to spec up, but you need a lot of ingredients. And since I was not prepared for this fame weekend, I got to buy everything in the market. I was kind of lucky because back in Americas, when there was a fame weekend, the cooking vendors will not have crafting capacity, the ingredients will be crazy expensive, and since they divided the servers, it's kind of chill. Some ingredients will go very expensive, but overall there's no problem buying the ingredients. Another trick is you can use 4 weeks when you are looking at prices in the market, and each line will represent 1 day in 1 month. So it's easier to see for every day how many ingredients were sold and the price they were selling for. I was already fine with the sandwich and I start leveling up the pork pie. As you see, the ones that I have almost 100, I tried to push them to 100. And the other ones, I was trying to push them to 50, because I wanted to have already the ones with spec 100 and the others with 50. I already have some nice spec to work with.
La la la!
This was the Fame weekend. It's always in the beginning of the year. The Rites of Spring is like 10 days in Easter time, and the anniversary is in July. So between the Fame weekend and the Rites of Spring, I had focus, so I used my focus in salads because I didn't want to do salads. I also don't like salad. They just have 2 ingredients. So one ingredient, like the soups, it's much easier to have a lot of players doing them because they just don't need to buy 1 ingredient. And the salads is the same. It's just 2 ingredients, so you have more players doing them. In all the video, I do the ingredients players buy. I want the foods to sell the quickest way possible, but again, it's also possible if you do food to vendors. So I go back and forth, I go to Carleon and I go to some royal cities where I have some ingredients left from my farms and some others I buy, and at this point I'm almost at level 50 in the pork pies and also in the other specializations.
There is no peas in Albion, only beans.
So I was way more prepared because I knew the Rites of Spring was coming. I used my focus in salads. I sold the salads. I did more buy orders. I sold beef stew. I did some buy orders. So when I got to the Rites of Spring, I already had some mats to work with. And as I told you, I bought wheat, but I also bought flour. I bought milk, but I also bought butter. For example, the ones that were cheaper, that I felt comfortable with, and also having in mind the specializations that I wanted to finish my spec. Since Rites of Spring works different than Fame Week you have an icon and everything you do except PvP will be affected by the 25%. The Rites of Spring is different. You got to catch some eggs, so I was looking for those eggs. These eggs are the chocolate eggs and they give you 15% of fame boosts. It's a little bit worse than the weekend, but the weekend is 25 in 2 days and the Easter it's more than 10 days and you have 15%. You have more time to do what you want, but with less fame. Also, the anniversary works more or less the same, but instead of chocolate eggs, you will have the cake, the anniversary cake. So in this second part, I want to finish the ingredients because they were very close to 100. So I started with bread and it was done. After that, I went to Fort Sterling to do the salads. I already made some buy orders for potatoes and cabbage, so I could do the salad. Salad would also be good for me if I wanted to craft faster. In this case, I was not doing that. In the other, it was only 1 weekend and I want to do everything fast. After you get full spec, if you have a mammoth, you will need the salad. So I was at level 99, so it was just 1 level, so I decided to do other types of salad. I decided to go to bean salad level 2, because if I wanted, I could study the rest that I needed to level 100. And I am dividing the salads because I want the fame to be exactly the fame I needed to finish the spec. Also, tier 2, you will not pay to study the items or to craft the items.
And they call this cuisine? Welcome.
So another one was done, so I'm going to my arch enemy, the carrot soup or the cabbage soup or any kind of soup. So I wanted to do this fast, so I studied them. 25% or 15%, it's huge in the overall of this journey to max spec. And here I'm also using focus to help me study the items.
Cuisine?
I don't advise you to do that, but I was already doing a lot of cooking and I wanted to finish this the fast way possible. So I'm at 99, just a little more level, so I'm doing the same. I'm splitting the soups to check how much I need to finish the spec. I already have the soup chef at 100.
Au revoir.
Only 2 to finish, the sandwich and the pies. So let's eat another chocolate egg, so I have the 15%. I did the pork pies in Carleon. Again, if you look, I'm using focus because it's already very high, the spec, so I'll be getting some money out of this. And also the resource return rate is 47.9 in Carleon. I already was putting a lot of pork pie in the market. It was not inflated, so I could sell them even when the event was going, because the event brings 15% more fame for other activities. So that means gatherers will buy more pork pies. People doing PvE will buy more PvE food. There will be more crafters trying to spec their crafting, so they will need more food for crafting. And of course, if there's more people will buy more PvP food.
To my cuisine.
I have 2 potion focus left. I tried to use them on the pork pies. I felt it was the right move, and I left 1 just in case. Here we go, another mastery achieved, the pie chef, and 1 to go.
Love is food.
The beef sandwich was giving me a lot of trouble because they are not selling. I should have chosen Mutton sandwich, but since I had already all the ingredients for the beef sandwich, it will not be ideal to make the change, because the ingredients are completely different. First part of the video, I was transporting the ingredients. Now I decided I didn't need to transport the ingredients. I was better selling them, because people were crafting food also and needed the ingredients. So the ingredients went up and the food was going down. So I took that to my advantage and bought some milk in Fort Sterling instead of doing the transport. As you can see, I'm taking the items from the buy orders I made and I'm not buying them. I also needed another meal in Fort Sterling in this case, because I was needing more butter in Fort Sterling, because the other butter I did was in Thetford. I was going to transport the butter, but the butter in Thetford was in a very good price, so I decided it was better to sell the butter in Thetford instead of making the transport back to Fort Sterling. The raw meat was also getting very expensive, so I went to my cows and grabbed them and went to the butcher and to have a little bit more of raw beef to work with. So I keep repeating the same process till I get to 99. So it was just 1 level, so I decided to study a couple of sandwich with the same strategy I use in the other ones, splitting them till you get to the fame you need. And here we go, we got the last mastery, the chef sandwich done. I'm going to put my sandwich in the chest because right now everyone is doing food, so I will wait till the event ends and then I will sell it. Now we are going to check how full spec, zero spec and half spec looks like in terms of focus. And as you can see, with full spec, I only spend 30,000 focus with roughly 1,200 salads. With zero spec, of course, I will spend a lot of focus and I will only get a few salads. And with half spec, keep in mind, this half spec doesn't have 100 in salads, it has more or less 50. It has a couple of hundreds and a couple of 50s in the different lines. So you get some focus to work with. You roughly can do 700 salads, but you spend all the 30,000 focus. To finish this up, I do food in the America server. I do potato salads. I didn't check the market. This was completely random in the EU server where I have the new full spec. I also choose something random. If you have a Mammoth, you can spend the 30,000 focus in one go. You take all the mats and you use a salad and you'll take more or less 12 minutes to do everything in every 3 days. Since we are not using profit calculators or even a calculator, it's very simple. Since you use 30k focus every 3 days, you'll need to check the profit you have in the day you spend the focus. So you see the estimated market value and you see how much profit you got from that. You multiply by 10 and you'll know roughly how much you will have in the end of the month, because you will only have 30k focus every 3 days and that will be 10 times every month. Since we started this with an ox, you will need to go back and forth 7 times. So doing in the same city, this will take more or less 30 minutes every 3 days. But you can take that to your advantage, and instead of doing in the same place, you can do these 7 rounds or 6 rounds in every city in the continent and Carleon. And you also can take that to your advantage, and instead of doing the same food in every city, you do different foods and they will sell faster. When you finish to do the food, you get overweight because the food has more weight than the ingredients. I think it would be cool to have a bag or a cape for food or for crops. So I asked AI to do one and then I made a little bit fine-tuning. For the people who don't have mammoths, for people that want to transport the food to hideouts, for people that want to do Carleon transports with food. I think it will be interesting to see something like that. I think it won't change the mammoth value, or probably it will, you never know. So here is my suggestion to make cook easier. This is how you can pay your premium without much effort. The premium in Americas and EU is around 30 million right now. Every time you set a sell order in the market with the food, you also can set some buy orders for ingredients. So you have them for the next time you will be cooking. For bigger profits, you can do enchanted or lower tier food for vendors, but that requires market research. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this, please subscribe and drop a like. I'm the Albion Bard. See you in the next one.